Here we go. What's up, guys? What's up, everybody? Here I am again. I'm sorry I missed last week. I don't believe I did a Psych Life video, but I was really occupied. This time around, I wanted to focus on the triangular theory of love. It's a theory by Robert J. Sternberg, and I thought this would be a very interesting topic to discuss today for a few minutes, mostly because this is a famous theory, and Robert J. Sternberg is a famous American psychologist who proposed this theory in ways of looking at relationships, and not just any type of relationships, specifically ones that involve a significant other or your love partner. And so let's start off with the beginning. Let me talk about a little bit about Robert J. Sternberg. Robert J. Sternberg, like I said, is an American psychologist who's a very famous American psychologist. He actually has TED Talks that he does, and he's one of the ones that advocates that the education system has to change. I've seen a few of his videos. I really admire him. He proposed that standardized tests are making the youth that much, I don't want to say any words that may not be proper, but it's definitely not beneficial as one may think. On top of that, he also has an intellectual theory, and a theory of intelligence. I've done a video before on other theories of intelligence, like Dr. Gardner's, but I've never talked about Dr. Sternberg's theory. But now I am, just not his theory of intelligence, just the triangular theory of love. So he proposed that love is like a triangle. Love is like a triangle, and there's three types of love. There's intimacy, passion, and commitment. And together, these three form consummate love, which is basically the type of love. Sorry, guys, I'm just looking at my notes here. Basically, consummate love is the combination of all three. And we all want this type of love. We all want a balanced love. And this was my attempt of drawing an equilateral triangle. Obviously, it doesn't seem like it, but we all want this type of love. We all want a love that's love in our life from our partner that's fulfilling and has these three components in it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each one and what each one implies, and how a relationship can be viewed from this perspective, from this theory. Okay, so first off, I'm going to talk about, I guess I'll start at this bottom left corner, and I hope I position the camera so everybody can see this somewhat well. I'm going to talk about a little bit about passion. Passion, I wrote here, infatuation. But really what passion is more of a physical. And I don't know the implications of throwing this word out here, what your age is, but I'm just going to bring it out to the open: sex. When we look at this triangle, one of the components is the sexual aspect of it, and that's important. I know there's cultural implications as to what is accepted in sex and what is not accepted, and virginity and abstinence from sex, and that's all great, handy and dandy, but sex is important. And so what are some interesting things about this? Well, for one, if we were to look at this triangle and apply this theory, let's say 1,000 years ago, when marriages in certain cultures were predetermined, for whether it be for political ties or family associations, the marriages were predetermined. People didn't really get a choice on who they were going to marry. Sometimes the fathers chose. Would you think that those marriages that were predetermined had a lot of passion in their life? Probably not. But the good thing about this theory is that just because a relationship may lack some passion, may lack some sexual activity, or maybe it's not fulfilling to its optimal level, other parts can fill it in. But sex is an important part, and Robert J. Sternberg identified that. The next one is intimacy. Intimacy is liking. It's how much you enjoy being around the person. It's how much fun you have. Do they make you laugh? Do you have romantic moments where you're charmed by each other? And I think that's very important in a relationship. And Robert J. Sternberg obviously thinks so, because it's one of the three components to fulfilling that love that we all want. The next one is commitment. Commitment. So like I said earlier, let's use that example I was holding on to earlier. A marriage that was predetermined maybe 1,000 years ago. I know marriages today in some parts of the world are still predetermined. Don't think I don't know that. But it was more popular back then. Let's say 1,000 years ago, when a marriage was predetermined, you didn't have a choice. Maybe it was because you were trying to form a family alliance. I bet you that marriage probably had a really high commitment. That's because maybe they were that relationship or that marriage or that whatever you want to call it was being looked at through a magnifying glass by both families. Maybe it was high in commitment, but now one high in passion. And so let's talk a little bit about what the implications are. Let me put my coffee here to the corner. Okay. So sometimes, like I said earlier, just because there's lacking in one, that doesn't mean that you can't reach consummate love. According to, I'm just using this from a theoretical perspective. You can have a marriage or a relationship with somebody or your significant other with a really high commitment level and a really high passion level. So maybe good sex, a lot of commitment, but there's not much talking. There's not much enjoyment being around each other. But maybe both partners are cool with that, and that triangle can balance itself. Well, when there's a relationship with really high passion and really high commitment, it tends to be viewed as fabulous love. He even has a term for it and everything. Let's see here. And I'm going to write here passion plus commitment. That doesn't mean that intimacy is completely absent. I don't think any one of these three components is ever completely absent from any relationship. There's always something that can be measured. And it always depends on so many things: the cultural background of the person, the experience of the person, the two people involved. You get two people with completely different experiences, they come together, they have a different idea of what a relationship is supposed to be, and psychologists can use this triangle to determine what's missing in a relationship. So we have here fabulous love, and I wrote here passion plus commitment. So that's basically a relationship where really high commitment, really high passion, but lacks some intimacy. Doesn't mean the intimacy is not there, but can lack some intimacy. Can, through viewing a relationship through fabulous love, can you reach consummate love? Absolutely. Maybe the two people involved in the relationship, they enjoy this type of love. They see nothing wrong in not having so much intimacy, so much conversation. Maybe so. It might be a little odd to me, but it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what they think. They're the ones in the relationship. So yes, they can be a consummate love, because what we determine what is a relationship all is a social construct depending on our experiences, right? I hope so. Anyway, so passion, intimacy, then we have here. So let's say we have a relationship that has very high passion, very good sex, very good romance, and at the same time, a lot of intimacy. They like to talk, they like to spend time with each other, but there's not that much commitment. Maybe they cheat on each other, or they commit adultery, or it's a short-term relationship, whatever it may be. We tend to call this romantic love. And we'll put here intimacy plus passion. And I hope you guys can read my handwriting. Okay, so we'll call this in the middle romantic love. So a relationship that's really high on intimacy, really high on socializing with each other, and really high on passion, romantic love. And like I said earlier, maybe both couples, they like being together, they like enjoying being around one another. Maybe they enjoy having each other's company. Maybe they enjoy the physical activity that they engage in. But when they're not around, maybe they're not really fully committed to each other. Maybe they're not in a monogamous relationship. Maybe they have different sexual partners and they're both okay with it. What do you do when they're both okay with it? Absolutely nothing. As a professional, if they're both completely okay with it and that's the way they see their relationship, then that's fine. Then I can view it, using this theoretical orientation, I can view it as them being in this romantic love portion of the triangle, but to them they might be in consummate love. And that's okay. So here, let's move over here to this side. Intimacy and commitment. Remember, commitment is how you're committed to the other person. I tend to view it more as a monogamy, almost. Then intimacy is enjoying. So what happens when a relationship's in really high commitment? You guys committed to each other, you guys enjoy being around each other, but lacks a lot of passion, lacks a lot of physical, sexual arousal. What do we call that relationship? And we tend to see this a lot as in relationships that have been together for a while. You've been together 25 years and you're 45 years old, 50 years old, and all of a sudden the passion might not be there like before. Maybe that excitement isn't there. Relationships that go that route tend to fall in this category, which is companionate love. And we'll put here intimacy plus commitment. So one thing to note in looking at this theoretical orientation, or this theory that I'm talking about, is that this is not an end-all be-all. This is just something someone formulated, in this case Robert J. Sternberg. He formulated this. This is something someone formulated to give a scope or a perspective in viewing a relationship. And now, how can I use this in my practice? Let's put it like that. Or maybe in your real world perspective, or in your life, you see a relationship. They're constantly bickering, they're constantly fighting. They're obviously committed to each other because they're always around each other, they're always together. And maybe they have good moments. They talk a lot, they validate each other. Validation's super important in any relationship, but let's focus on the theory itself. I can view it and one of them comes in and they're struggling with the passion in their life. Well, maybe as a clinician or as a person, I'm going to work on this portion of their life. I'm going to work on this portion of their life, the passionate side. So hopefully that can stop the conflict. So I can look at this triangle, and if the people aren't, and if my clients or whatnot are not happy in their relationship, I can look at what's missing. Obviously, what's missing, whether it's commitment from one of them, maybe that's what's causing all the bickering and the unhappiness. Maybe it's the lack of intimacy, the lack of social connectedness, or maybe it's just the lack of sex. But this is just a theory. What about, let me show some things that this theory may not include. What about addiction? Addiction to random sexual partners, addiction. Or what about escape? Maybe someone's had many miscarriages and all of a sudden their relationship's taking down the tube. Obviously, those situations are way more complicated than viewing their relationship through this triangle. This is a very basic theory, but it can be useful. And for that, it's just a short video, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll try posting more for you guys, and I'll try doing more of these videos. And if you guys have any ideas for me, feel free to please send me a message on my inbox. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys watching my video. I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you.